Welcome to Storytime on JKids Radio. I am Cantor Rosalie Will, and I'm going to be telling you the story, We're Building the Temple. The great King Solomon was asked by God to build the temple in Jerusalem. This is a place that would house our commandments, our Torah, and be a central place for Jews for many, many years. Well, of course, like any good manager, King Solomon decided to gather the best people to do this project. We always want the best people with us when we're building something new. So King Solomon called the best architects and the best stone workers and the best woodworkers to come to build this temple, a sacred holy place. Well, the project had been going on for a few months, and King Solomon decided it was time to go see how it was going. Go check on the workers and see what the progress was. But King Solomon also knew that if he went out in his kingly garb, he might be a distraction and people would want to come talk to him and maybe show off a bit. So he decided to just put on everyday clothes of anybody else who was around, one of the average people. And then he went out to see the progress on the temple. And he first went down to the building site, and he comes upon a man standing in front of a table, rolling and unrolling scrolls and putting them down on the ground and furrowing his brow, and unrolling scrolls and throwing them down on the ground, and laying one out on a table, pulls out a pencil, scribbles on it. King Solomon, remember nobody knows he's King Solomon, goes up to this man and says, "Excuse me, sir, I see you're very busy with all of these scrolls and all of this paper. Can I ask what it is that you're doing?" And the man says, "Well, I am the chief architect of this project, and I was asked to come and to design this very important temple for King Solomon. But whoever drew these plans for me to work with as this important architect, they're wrong. They're mistakes. It doesn't make any sense. The measurements don't add up, and I have to fix them all. This is terrible." Well, King Solomon moves away and continues to walk and is concerned. This man is having a hard time, and it's too bad the plans weren't right, but he wants to see how the rest of the project is going. So he goes into another courtyard, and he comes across someone standing in front of huge stones, and they're taking tools out of their belt and banging them on the stone, and the tool breaks. Takes out another tool, bangs, and the stone's crumbling and huffing and puffing around this stone. And King Solomon, as an average person, goes up to them and says, "Excuse me, I see you're having a hard time. Can I ask what it is that you're doing on this project?" And the person says, "Well, I was brought here as the best stonemason in all the land. It took them weeks to find me, and I am the best. I'm here to put together the stones to build this temple. But the stones that they ordered, they're bad. They keep crumbling. They're weak. I can't work with this kind of stone. We can't put this stone in the temple. What do they expect me to do? I'm the best stonemason, and the materials they gave me are terrible. This is terrible." Oh dear, well, King Solomon is really concerned now and figures he has to see what else is happening on his project. He goes into another courtyard and feels something fall on his head and looks up and says, "Excuse me, what's going on up there?" From up at the top, someone says, I was hired to put all the wood around the window frames and work with the wood to make beautiful windows for this temple, but the wood is rotten. I don't know who's in charge here, but somebody ordered terrible wood, and I can't work this way. I'm not able to do my job. This wood is terrible." Now what's King Solomon going to do? Very discouraged and disappointed. He thought everyone would be excited and come together to work on building this temple. So he figures he'll go back to his palace, his castle, and think about what to do next. And as King Solomon turns the corner to begin to walk back home, he hears whistling. Well, that's strange, whistling, and follows where it's coming from, and it gets louder and louder, and King Solomon turns into a small courtyard where the whistling's coming from, and he sees a very old man bending over, lifting up huge stones with all his might, muscles bulging, sweat carrying across this small courtyard, and putting them in another pile of stones. Going back over, picking up, whistling the whole time, carrying these stones. So King Solomon goes up and says, sorry to interrupt you. I have to say, you are not very young. You perhaps aren't the strongest person. You're doing a very hard job. You're lifting these stones with all your might. How is it that you're whistling?" The man looks at King Solomon, not knowing it's King Solomon, and says, "I'm building the temple. I'm building the temple. I am building the temple." He's so proud to be a part of something so special. Sometimes the plans are wrong. Sometimes we're asked to do a job, or we're doing something at school or in our life, and we didn't get the right materials, and someone who was supposed to give us something gives us the wrong thing. But when we're working together, when we're building something that matters, in our school, with our friends, in our work, in our community, we whistle because we are building the temple, all of us. When we say a kind word, when we reach out to someone who needs something, when we act with generosity, we're building the temple, and each of us is a temple. We're building temples. So even when things go wrong and the materials break and the supplies are terrible, maybe we can remember it. We're building the temple, and then we'll whistle while we work.